And I was like, I can't, this is the best time of my life.
It's true. That's so annoying.
This is the best it's going to be.
But it's normally true.
Like going to Coney Island and having a guy pee next to me.
It
this
was
is
fabulous,
as good.
wasn't it?
It was so cool. I would give anything to have that guy pee next to me again. Life as a mom, entrepreneur, wife, friend, and human is a lot. Join me, Katie Jacobs.
And me, Brandy Chandler, every Thursday as we have unfiltered, hilarious, and relatable conversations about the ups, the downs, and the chaos of it all.
Pour a glass and pull up a seat.
Because you're always welcome at our table.
Welcome to another episode of She Did What?
Hi, Katie.
Hi, Brandy. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yes.
We are talking Rearview in response to balance. A lot came up from that episode, and we wanted to shed some light on being in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and up, and some experiences that we've had. We had a lot of questions from younger women, which I think is so great in that wiser than me vein, you know? And we really wanted to take today to shed some light on the responses we got, because our table, this table of women is, and this community we're building with She Did What is really important to us.
Yes. We are so thankful that the community aspect has really taken off.
Yes.
We love that.
Yes. So we wanted to start by posing the question to each other. How would you describe yourself in 3 words? Your younger self. We'll take it like to the 20s.
Okay.
Right? I think that's kind
like
of what,
college, young adult.
Young adult. Yeah. Or if you're not, in your 20s. What are 3 words?
My 3 were 2. Overconfident and naive. So I had a lot of confidence. I was running through everything, doing things, but yet at the same time, I wasn't really planning for the next steps. So that's where the naive comes in. I just thought everything was going to be great all the time.
I think that's I don't know that that's as relatable to young women today.
Yes. Parts of it maybe, but not. I don't know if it's relatable to anyone. I feel like I was in a special bubble.
The Brandy bubble.
We
did. Those of you who follow us on Instagram did get to see Brandy in her pageant days.
And you know what?
You're beautiful and gorgeous today.
I'm waiting for your young pictures.
You're so hot in those photos. I was like,
don't distract me.
Did you
owe me?
Did you see? Did you see the responses we got? They were great. Okay, so my 3 words are selfish, impulsive, and impatient.
And I can see myself in all of those as well.
I think like I can see mine in yours too. I think selfish, impulsive, impatient, overconfident, and naive kind of sum up your 20s.
That's youth.
That is, yes.
That is youth in 5 words.
Youth in 5 words. Exactly, Brandy. So we polled some young people that we know, and we said, what are a few words to describe your fears and concerns?
Well, not just people we know. We put this out on Instagram.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, and we got listener responses.
Okay, do you want to go through those?
Sure. So just some general ones. We're going to read out a few. We're disappointing others, not being good enough, advice on life post-grad, embracing the season and not feeling like you're wasting time before looking to the next. And that woman was in her late 20s. Graduating in May, worried about finding a job, or not worried about finding a job per se, but finding engaging work. How do you negotiate salaries / ensure you are valuing yourself as high as you should? And then one comment, she was in her young 20s and fearing the future, feeling like a corporate machine, imposter syndrome.
Wow.
So these girls are thinking way more than I was. It kind of made me feel bad about myself. But I'm so happy for them. I feel like these are really thoughtful, intelligent things to mull over.
I think the women that are asking these questions, first of all, I just want to give them all a hug.
I know.
Like, come to my house. Let me cook you a meal. Talk to me. Like, it's going to be okay. That's the first thing. I know that is such cliched, kind of low-hanging fruit advice. but you're gonna
they
be
need
okay.
love. Yes.
And I promise you, because if these are your worries, like you're already 10 steps ahead.
Yes. Yes. That's a great
You're already being so thoughtful about your future.
These are
Give
our
yourself
leaders.
some grace.
Mm-hmm.
These are our leaders.
These are the
Give
future
yourself
leaders.
some grace, a pat on the back, and take it step by step.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the responses from the people that we're close to who are
Yes.
young people. Do you want to start?
Yes. So I have a late teenager that gave me this response when I kind of polled some people that I did know. And she said her response was not living up to the expectations I set for myself in the future, feeling like I'm not doing enough or doing something the right way. The dreaded feeling of growing up too fast, fearing I'm not always going to be in control of every little aspect of my life. So for one,
This is a woman who's not yet 20.
no.
Goodness.
Yeah. And I just want to say you will never be in control of any aspect of your
No.
life. Just let that go now. as
These are women, but think about this, Brandy. These are women who are just starting to feel some sense of power and control because they're maybe leaving home for the first time and flying for the first time, and they're starting to feel, oh, I have options and I have decisions to make that feel grown up. Maybe, this is my first step into a lot of things, into becoming an adult.
Yeah, my parents aren't telling me what to do about everything.
I was such a control freak until I had kids.
Yes.
And I wanted to control, and I was actually pretty good at it, but it made me miserable. Trying to control things. I think one of the things that we can say, but a woman would have to, with these fears, would have to just sort of experience, and I would hope that this rear view picture of it would lighten that burden. But the sooner you learn to accept that things are going to come your way and not try to control them, but try to embrace them and adjust to them.
To deal with what's laid before you.
There's this great poem by Rumi, and it's about life being a guest house. And I would encourage everyone to read that. You have to embrace the feelings of the day. You have to embrace the problems that come your way. They're going to teach you something. So don't try to avoid them. Don't push them away. Embrace them and know that there's a lesson in everything if you're willing to accept the good with the bad and the bad with the good. But control is, I think, something that a lot of people seek, especially when you live in 2024, a time that feels a bit out of control.
Yes.
I would argue, or say.
And also this comment, the dreaded feeling of growing up too fast, and we had an earlier comment about embracing a season and kind of rushing to the next season. I would just really encourage people to live in the moment and enjoy the season that you are in, because I feel like everybody, and even young adults, can probably see this. You're looking back saying, oh, that was so good. I had it made then.
Yes.
And so just really stay in the moment, be present, and enjoy it. I wish as overconfident and naive as I was and having a good time, I still rushed through that season, and I was looking forward to getting married and like being an adult and having a career. I wasn't really enjoying it and embracing it as much as I feel like I should have at the same time. So I really want to encourage people to live in that moment, live in that season, because it never comes back.
Can I give an example of this, an anecdote?
Yeah.
So when JJ was playing professional baseball, and I think people hear that and they think like, oh, he was playing in the minor leagues. There's actually a documentary called Playing for Peanuts. I think he made like $2 an hour when we worked it out.
Literal peanuts.
And we spent a summer living in Brooklyn. We had no furniture, no AC. Our oven, when you turned it on, it's like almost set fire. We didn't have a television. And this is pre-phone having anything on it. Like you had a cell phone. It was a few texts and the ability to call. Anyway, we lived in this basement apartment. We could pack our lives in 45 minutes. So I remember complaining to my parents and to my in-laws, oh my gosh, this is like, what are we doing? And da-da-da-da-da. And I remember over and over hearing the advice, just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now, looking back, the rear view on that, in that time, I was so worried. What are we doing? Where are we going to land? I mean, we were very early 20s. We didn't have any, like when I tell you we had no money, we had no money. And I look back and in hindsight, I see two people madly in love, honestly having a lot of sex.
Going to that episode.
We didn't have a TV.
We didn't have cable.
What else were we going to do? Who had nothing in terms of attachment to material things, but had so much love. My best friend from Australia was living in Manhattan.
Oh, wow.
So I got to spend time with her, a lot of time with her. I look back, I'm like, why was I so, and look where I landed.
Yes. And what would you give to have that be like a month right now?
I would give.
That would be like therapy to your soul.
Oh my gosh, to go back for a week and do that again would be such a vacation. How weird is that? So I want to give that story as living proof that, and every day I woke up worried, but it doesn't. At this age, with the real worries that I have now, the real troubles, first of all, we landed where we needed to be because we were focused and we had goals and we were just, we were hardworking, but the worry was unnecessary. So, and having, I remember my father-in-law looking at me being like, this is the best time of your life. Trust me. And I was like, I can't, this is the best time of my life.
It's true. That's so annoying.
This is the best it's going to be.
But it's normally true.
Like going to Coney Island and having a guy pee next to me.
This is
fabulous,
good, wasn't it?
It was so cool. I would give anything to have that guy pee next to me again.
I hate it when people tell me that now even, but I know in 20 years I'm going to look back and I want my children to be little and living with me. So that's really so hard to hear sometimes, but it's so true. So, and going back to episode 2, you're going to have worry. You're not going to be able to rid yourself of worry, even if you want to embrace and enjoy the season. You got to have that little bit balance. Have your worries. Don't let them overtake the joy.
Yes. And I would, I think the pressure of social media is a big part of that. Yeah. We didn't have
Y'all
that.
Have it a little worse.
You have it a lot worse. And I would really recommend taking significant breaks. If you are feeling bogged down, overwhelmed, troubled, if you are feeling the pull of comparison, which is the thief of joy. We've talked about that a lot. We will continue.
Over worried.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because
clear your mind.
Yes, because clearing your mind and getting some perspective and peace is really important to mental health, I think.
Yes. All right, go with your friend's response.
Balancing kindness that gets taken advantage of and translates into being weak. I think girls are trying to balance this kindness with asking for what they want, being independent, etc. No one wants to be perceived as too much. But isn't that the plight of being a woman? Wow, if this isn't like a Barbie call,
it is. That's
to the monologue. I don't know what is. I was expecting from this response, this is someone I'm very close to, I was expecting her to give me, and she's a woman in her very early 20s. I was expecting her to give me like, oh, I'm just worried about, graduating and moving on. And this was such a gut punch that trying to hold kindness and asking for what you want and not being perceived as too much. And I think there's a sense of like, I just want you to throw all of that out the window. And I just want you to live your truth. And if you feel like you need to ask for something, you ask for it. And if you feel like you need to give kindness or get kindness, you either give it or you ask for it. And I think you can hold all of these things at once. And I think that as women, we need to do better for other women and hold space for all of these things. Because I don't think this is a her thing.
No.
I think this is a being a woman thing.
I would identify with all of these, yes.
So I don't think I have any one piece of advice except be who you are, because the moment you try to bend or twist or negotiate to make yourself smaller or something else for a perceived notion, you are doing yourself a grave injustice.
Yes. And I tell my daughter, my oldest daughter, this all the time. You cannot control other people. So you cannot control how you translate. Well, sometimes you can control how you translate if you're like off the trail there, or their responses, like how they perceive you. You really don't have any control over the other people. So you just have to do best by yourself and what you feel needs to be valued, and you can't, and put it out there. You can't control how other people are taking that back in.
That's right.
So that's not your responsibility, and that's a hard lesson to learn. I feel like everyone struggles with that every day, but you've really got to let go of what other people are thinking.
Well, and they're also going to filter you through
their experiences.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
True.
exactly right. And their experiences, well, how out of the control is that for you? JJ always says to me, control the controllables. Like if we have a problem come up, control the controllables, Katie. Like you can't, how someone's going to react to this decision is not on you.
Yeah.
As long as you do it with integrity.
Yes.
I have 2 values that I live in. And there's Brene Brown. I highly recommend doing value work with her. I don't know if you've ever done it.
I have not.
It's like a value exercise. Like what are your values? And you get down to 2 core values. And mine are authenticity and integrity. And I know that if I make every decision in my life from authenticity and integrity, I will go to sleep easily and happily that night.
Yes.
So now I'm going to wake up because I'm 41.
And I'm going to be worried.
And I'm going to be worried.
But I did the best I could.
But I'll hit the pillow just fine. So I don't... In terms of balancing kindness, I think little b, you can hold everything at once. And I want to give younger women the power to hold it all at once and to let the perceptions of others fall away.
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
My dear pal Laura dove into the world of LT swimwear because she wanted to rock a swimsuit that has the perfect amount of coverage and doesn't budge an inch. I've got 3 of these swimsuits. My faves are the Cut It Out swim top and the French 75 bottom. Gals, they're the ultimate go-to for anyone wanting to slay summer style with confidence. These suits are not just about looking good, they're about feeling fantastic in your own skin. And who better to craft swimwear than a champion swimmer herself? Hop on over to ltswimwear.com and snag yourself your new favorite suit today. Or plunge into LT's world on Instagram at LTSwims for a splash of style. Use code SHEDIDWHAT for 10% off your order. Again, that's code SHEDIDWHAT, all together, all one word, for 10% off your order. Let's speak to the next stage. Being in your 30s, maybe you're starting your career. And one of the folks that reached out said they're still living paycheck to paycheck. They're in a dual income marriage, and navigating those times.
I don't know. I feel like I'm still figuring this one out. What about you?
Yeah, I mean,
I would say the biggest thing I can see at this point, being in my 40s, and most of my friends are in their 40s, everyone seems to really be settling down in this decade.
In your 40s?
Yeah.
So what are your 30s about? What would you...
Just working hard.
30s feel like they're about building.
Yeah, working hard, building.
Yeah.
You're figuring it all out.
What are you figuring out? All this stuff from the 20s?
Yes. You finally have settled on all the things you were worried about in the 20s, made up your mind, know how you're going to function in those capacities. And then you're trying to live it out.
I remember being in my late 20s and visiting my aunt, and she is a free spirit, man. And she looked at me and she was like, your 30s are the best time of your life.
Really?
She said, yeah. She said, I think she was in her late 40s at that time. She said, you know, you finally come into a confidence. You stop all this worrying about what other people think, and you start really living into who you are, and you look good and you feel good. You've got energy. And I thought that was great advice because I loved my 30s.
Yeah. I like all of them. I've heard that a lot about your 40s because you have that free, I don't care about what anybody else thinks point of your life. And that's a huge freedom.
I said, like, I lost my fucks at the gateway to 40.
Yeah.
They fell away. It was like, there's this sense of, for me, and Brandy, maybe you can respond, but, and give your experience on this. But for me, it was like, I have built a business, built a life. I have 3 children. Not that that's a measure. Children isn't a measure, but like giving birth is like intense and
you've kept them alive at this point.
Good God, by the grace of God. And it's like, you cannot mess with me.
Yeah.
I will not. I'm at a point in my life where I will not accept fuckery or I will not suffer fools. I will not allow for people to manipulate, discourage, or negate my experiences and the way I live my life. Yeah, because everything I've built with authenticity and integrity.
And you've learned all these lessons. You really are confident in who you are and what you believe in.
Yes.
And so the 40s are very freeing.
They are. And you can still, like, I'm just now, like we talked about in faith, I'm going on some journeys right now.
Yeah.
But I have
growing.
a lot of sense of self going into those journeys that was developed from the questioning of the 20s and the building of the 30s.
And you know it's a journey by this point. So you're not super stressed out. I have to figure out this now. You're like, let's do this. It's going to take some time, but
that's
we are going to figure it out.
That's a great note. You have the confidence of knowing that you've got time.
Yeah.
Again, God willing, you've got time to kind of figure these things out.
I love it.
In your 30s, still living paycheck to paycheck. Gosh, man, this is, I think, the hardest. Like, this is a really hard time. Everything is very, very expensive.
So expensive.
Groceries are expensive. Life is expensive. I mean, I can't imagine, honestly, being a young mother and having an unexpected bill come up. Mm-hmm. It is, it's a very tough time, I think, financially for a lot of folks. Mm-hmm. I would say if you're struggling being paycheck to paycheck, you will get through this. Mm-hmm. Hunker down. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses.
And don't compare. I mean, you can't.
Don't go out and buy designer handbags that you can't afford.
Yeah, because someone else has them.
Yes.
I mean, just really do your own thing. If you don't want to live paycheck to paycheck anymore, maybe you hunker down in that department more than other people because that's what you want to do. Not because you want as much money as someone else, but if that makes you feel comfortable and you want, that bulk sitting in the bank, do what makes you happy. Don't do it because you feel like I should be making more money. I should have more money because other people have more money.
Oh, that's good perspective too.
Everybody is just in their own lane. And I see a lot of that, especially in this town, because we are a weird town with money.
Why are we a weird town with money?
It's like you either have no money or you have way too much money. I don't see a good middle ground here. And I'm in the middle ground. So I am just putting everybody else to the side. I mean, there are houses, like all the houses I've seen.
Okay, you just house hunted. So obviously.
Get in your lane and do what you need to do.
I don't know this person. I don't remember this comment. Paycheck to paycheck is really difficult. And it's a very stressful. I know that stress. I remember it very, very well. It is not in my distant past. And one of the hardest things to do is know that if you are working in your career, and that's I'll get anecdotal and speak to my experience. When I was working in my career, I was like, I know that this is temporary because I'm working too damn hard to stay in this position where I am worried every day about, the next day and how we're going to pay bills or whatever. My dog, I remember we'd gotten a dog, and when the dog would need to go to the vet, I would get really, really nervous because it always seemed like a big bill.
Oh, those are big bills.
And those were really hard for us. Like, it was very, very hard to pay those bills. So it just always seemed like scrimping and saving. And we did that for a long time. And the first time feeling financially very comfortable was so liberating and freeing. And I promise you that if you're hunkered down and buckled down, and I mean, when I say hunker, I mean, don't spend. Like, we in the fourth quarter of last year, we were like, we cannot go out to eat. Like, we need to eat at home. We need to save. We need to be really thoughtful about our grocery bills. And like you're not alone, you know, and just buckle down, maybe make some financial decisions, maybe have some meetings. This woman is in a marriage, so maybe have some decisions around how you're going to spend your money for the quarter, for the year, and you know, just know that it's temporary, and this is just a tough economic time for everybody.
Yeah,
so
you can do it.
You can do it, babe. Parenting.
Oh.
Oh,
these kids. All right. You want me to read these?
Yeah.
So a few comments we received in the parenting department was 3 under 4 stay-at-home mom going back to work and nervous. I see a girl. Another, kids going to middle school. How do we keep them innocent and not addicted to social media? And another, raising my daughter and helping her navigate friendships into middle school.
You want to start with that one? Because I feel like you have the best perspective.
Yeah, really the innocent comment and the social media comment and the friendships in middle school remind me, I went to an author visit at a school here in town recently, and he was addressing a comment about as your children get older, how to kind of monitor what they're reading. And, you know, making sure that material is appropriate to the things you want them to have access to. And a lot of it came back to, you know, you've spent their childhood putting filters in place of what we believe, what our core values are, like you were saying, and things like that. And as they get older and in the middle school age, they're going to lose their innocence a little bit. And they're going to see social media.
Right.
And they're going to have difficult circumstances that have happened with their friendships. But you really, if you've done that work early on, there are so many filters and values that you've placed in them. And you've just got to trust that those are going to kick in and work, because they're going to be out of your nest.
Control.
Every day. And so, you know, if they see something wonky on social media, maybe they'll just pass it by. They're like, oh, I'm not into that, you know, and just keep moving. And I think that's a really, as he said that, I had never thought about it in those terms of having placed those filters and, you know, put those in your child at a young age. But my daughter reads way outside of her typical realm right now as a middle schooler, and that's what she just reads so much, and she's interested in so many different types of novels. I kind of just had to let her go, but it's worked really well. I mean, she'll come to me and ask me a question about something that she's reading if she's not really getting it, and that happened pretty early for her. Like even in late elementary school, she was reading some stuff that we hadn't really addressed, so she had questions about. But those filters, like when he said that, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what kind of we've done, and that works for us. So if you really, you know, invest in your children and put these values in them early, they kick in. Mm-hmm. It's a nice thing to see.
Mm-hmm. I'm not there yet.
You'll be there. You're getting there.
I see my oldest making good decisions.
Yeah.
And that feels good. Like in the wild, I see him, you know, just out and about.
That's your filters. You're seeing them.
And the other two are
they're just running wild still.
Remains. They are feral. But I'm hoping that you're right. So we're talking about keeping kids innocent and off of social media, and to speak to that,
or not addicted to social media.
So here's
I got news for you. They're going to have social media.
Here's where I'm struggling right now. We are very strict about video games. Mm-hmm. My kids have become obsessed. We limit it to Friday after school for a little bit, Saturday a little bit, Sunday a little bit. And it's really based on, I'm going to be honest, selfishly, I have 3 children. They're always in my hair. We're a very tight-knit family, and it's something we've worked really hard to create. Like, we, all 5 of us, are never not in the same room. Mm-hmm. I don't know what that is, but it's something I guess we created, but also sometimes it makes me insane. Like, my kids are always on top of me. I love it 98% of the time. 2%, I'm just like, I just need a moment to enjoy the sunshine and a coffee and a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, and maybe this is like me not being a great parent, I will be like, hey guys, yeah, you can have your, 45 minutes of video games now. But what I found is like they're kind of obsessed with video games. And I'm worried, have I, by limiting it so much and trying to keep them innocent, not giving them anything but like a couple of video games, have I created a situation where they're obsessed with it? That's my fear right now. That's my very real fear as a parent right now.
No, I feel like I don't feel that way at all. I just feel like that's what they like. That's what's cool.
But they're like, mom, video games.
Well, maybe that's just a little bit from not having full access to it, but I feel like.
But like if I gave them full access, that's all they do.
Yeah.
So
stay strong, Katie.
All right, I need somebody's feedback who's been through this. Someone please leave us a voicemail or message me. I don't know what I'm doing, and I feel so. This is where I'm at right now as a parent. Yeah. I feel completely lost.
I feel like y'all have a great system set up.
But why are my kids obsessed? They're not like, okay,
you
great.
Always want what you can't have.
Well, yeah, and then what happens when they're 18?
You're teaching them. You're filtering them. You're putting it in place.
I don't trust it.
Trust it, Katie. Trust the system. Okay. All right. 3 under 4, stay-at-home mom, going back to work and nervous.
Oh, Mama. I want to give her a hug too, Mama.
Yeah, it's a season. You're going to get through it, and it'll be fine. It's going to be hard. You're going to cry a little bit.
You're going to cry.
You're going to feel constantly tugged between the two, but everybody does. And it's a season, and one day it will come to an end.
I remember when I was working 7 days a week, pretty much, leaving, and the weekends were really hard for me because I would see all of the family stuff going on. I'm gonna cry. And I would get in the car and I would just sob going to work, leaving my kids because I was working so much, and it just killed me. It crushed me. And now that I am fortunate enough to have my weekends, I think maybe overkill. I'm like, we're going to go hike, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to bike ride. I'm like, I wake up, I brew a pot of coffee. I take, a few minutes to reflect and read. And then I'm like, what are our activities today? Like, what are we doing as a family? Because that time, oh, Mama, I feel you. It is difficult to get in the car and drive away from your children. And I like, particularly Griff would like scream for me and like try and grab me, and it was like pulling him off. Ugh.
Yeah. And you know what? If it's really bad and you just hate it, maybe it's time to say, is this really what I want? Maybe
but a lot of people don't have that ability. They have to pay their bills.
Yeah. I mean, circumstances.
And, the circumstances are that you just have to go to work. A tool that I used during that time is to remember that you are showing your kids that mom can do hard things. Yes. That mom is a baddie who is making stuff happen for her family. That mom is providing. And this is a role that Brandy and I didn't like necessarily see many mothers in. Like that is our generation. Yes. We are the first. I think we're, the generation above us and our generation. Not generation, that's not right. The decade above us and our decade of women are like the first ones that really were the work, a huge part of the workforce. And I think you should be really proud that you're providing for your family, and remember how proud your kids are of you. And when you're driving away from the house and crying a couple times like I did, like just remember that like you're doing the hard thing. Yes. And we're proud of you too.
Yes. And I pray that your children love daycare. I only have one child that went to daycare, my youngest. She still talks about, can we go see Miss Julie? Oh. She had the best time. She thought it was fabulous. Yeah. It was much harder on me than it was her.
Sure. And you have to remember that too.
Yeah.
Like Griff doesn't remember me leaving. Yeah. He doesn't care.
He's like, they had videos at daycare, Mom.
It was great.
No, it was a great experience for us. I mean, she's not in daycare anymore, but when we needed it, it was there. It was hard on me. She loved it. So I hope your children at least enjoy where they are when you're not with them.
Yes, and it's a season. And Brandy gave that great perspective. This is not forever.
Shall pass.
And having faith and having, I also would give you give yourself the grace of knowing
Yes.
that when you need to be there, you will be there.
Yes.
Like, trust in that this is a time that, like, you may be, like, your kids don't need you as much, and you will be there when they need you. I promise you that. You will know when those moments are. I've had a couple moments where I've gotten a call from school and had to deal with a situation or something, and I'm going to tell you, work drops so quick.
Yes.
I will drop everything and go to my children. So,
I mean, one day, once we started the podcast, I had one that stayed home from school sick. I was supposed to come see you. The other one, like, calls in from school. Will you come get me? Then the third threw up on the way home in the car with all the other ones.
you guys got the stomach bug.
And I was like, Katie, we are not podcasting today.
And I said, and you know what? No problemo, baby. There's
So
also, I
it
think, in your
happens.
30s, as you're building and looking back retrospectively, I said yes to everything in my 20s and 30s, meaning if there was an opportunity to amplify my business and grow it, I took it. Sometimes I will say to the detriment of my family, and I regret some of the things that I said yes to that I should have said no to.
Yeah.
What I would say to speak to that time of your 20s and 30s, if it, again, speaking to the values of authenticity and integrity, and I'll link that value work, the Brene Brown. I when I do speaking engagements, I talk about this value work, and it's really, really great if you're struggling and you need a foundation. But to speak to that time, Brandy's favorite thing, no. Saying no.
I'm a
Remembering
knower.
that when you're in the building period, you might have to do things you don't necessarily want to do in order to build because they're uncomfortable. They feel awkward. But knowing this feels like intuitively it's going to be a waste of my time.
Yes.
Don't do it.
And I think that's how I come to be so good at no now is I spent my 30s and late 20s saying yes to things that just I wasn't called to do, but somebody asked me to do it and I was like, I can do that, you know?
Oh yeah.
So here's to growth.
Cheers to growth. And getting to the point where you finally realize
you know
have
yourself.
that freedom.
Yeah.
And not feeling guilty when you say no.
Yes.
I don't feel guilty. I'm like, no, baby.
My friend will tell me, Brandy will look you straight in the eye and be like, no. And I will. I have no problems with that. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it.
It's so liberating.
I have a very good resource that I have just loved. I've only found this resource in the past year, which we all now know from this podcast was a crazy year for me of a lot of personal change. There is a podcast by Emily P. Freeman called The Next Right Thing. And she also has 2 books out. I've fully read one called The Next Right Thing. It's fabulous. And I'm in the other one right now called How to Walk Into a Room, I believe. And I think she actually has some other books too, but those are the 2 I'm familiar with. And her podcast is amazing. She calls herself, and I believe her, she's doing this role, a spiritual director, and she focuses on helping people with decision fatigue.
I use that term all the time.
I mean, I'm not joking when I say her work has like changed my life because I found her when we were in the period.
Why are you just telling me this?
I don't want to like push it off on everybody. I found her in the period where we had quit our jobs and we were in like a 6-month range where we had no idea what was next. And her concept of just do the next right thing, literally every day, every hour. Here is this decision we are faced with. What is the next right thing given all the info I have right now in front of me?
Yeah, that's cool.
But Katie, her voice is so calming and therapeutic. Just listening to her, and she has short little podcasts. They're like 20 minutes.
Oh, not like this one.
But you want to like listen to it 80 times and take in. She has a gift. Like she is gifted. She is made to come on this planet and help us with decision fatigue.
And I would say, I think I saw, I love to misquote a study I read on Instagram.
Give it to me.
Which might not even, it's like women make like 10,000 decisions a day. It's like a disgusting, and if you think about it from the moment you wake up, Mom, can I have a banana? No, you need to have an orange. Mom, can, and then, okay, what shoes am I going to, okay, Katie, what's this? What's that? Hey, so-and-so isn't showing up. What are we going to do? Or, these clothes aren't coming. Like all the decisions throughout the day, from the moment your feet hit the floor to the moment you go to bed. And decision fatigue is so real. And it's why I'm such a selfish friend when it comes to like doing fun things. I'm like, can someone else, you tell me what to wear.
I'll be there.
Where I will show up. I will be the life of the party.
Oh, trying to figure out where to eat for a family of 5.
Listen,
don't even come at me
I will buy you a round of shots and we will have a good time and end up dancing on tables. But I do not want to make the decision about what to wear, where to go.
Yes.
I'm exhausted. Like someone just direct me for once.
Yes.
So that decision fatigue is a very real problem, I think, for women, and we're so inundated. I mean, my email inbox
and
alone.
Just all of these things we have read and discussed that are on people's minds. I really feel like the Next Right Thing work and her podcast and her books would really help anybody, any phase of life.
That's great.
Big decisions, everyday decisions. She really helps you get into a really nice mindset about it. And she's so simple and calm. She is not telling you like, do these 80 things, do it right now. I mean, she is just like, you just want to listen to her. She's like a glass or cup of tea or something. I mean, she is just like
chicken noodle soup for
she's
the soul.
Like
remember that book?
Lavender essential oil is what she's like. Or a CBD gummy. Either one. No, seriously. I feel like all these people and all of their comments would be
okay. I love that.
Great to check her
I would
out.
also say be really careful in the self-help space. Instagram is the algorithm. Once you start down that, it turns into a bit of a wasteland of
that's why I
faux
really
coaches
like her.
selling faux ideas. Let's put a disclaimer. This is Brandy's tried and true. She's using this system. There are people who are going to try and sell you systems because you're vulnerable and in a place where you're seeking, and people will try and take advantage of that. So just like use people like Brandy or I who have been through it, who can say this actually really works. Brene Brown is another great resource.
She's fabulous.
Well, she's a researcher by like that is her trade. And she has really, really great advice, I think, that's research-based, like heavily research-based, not bullshit research-based, like I like to quote.
Yeah. And that's why I like Emily. There is no system. She's not doing anything. She's just helping you think about things. She's posing some questions. A lot of her work is based on, okay, you have a decision to make. Here are some questions to ask yourself to help you. Like, who's going to be affected by this if I do it? Who's going to be affected by this if I don't do it? I mean, just super simple stuff.
It sounds like the updated version of write the pros and cons. JJ and I still make business decisions, by the way.
Yeah.
We will sit down together, put a line down the middle of a piece of paper, pro and con, and write them all out. We see you, and we see your struggles, and we see your hardship, but we also see your beauty. And we're so honored to have you at our table.
We are so proud of this little community that has formed. We love you guys.
The messages and the DMs and everything. The first voicemail we got. Oh,
that was a good one.
I was cooking dinner. You said, Katie, we got a voicemail. And I'm like, Brandy, my computer's dead. I need to hear it.
It was very sweet.
It was beautiful.
That was a great one to start with.
Thank you. And we hope that you enjoyed Rearview, and any comments and questions. Let's continue this conversation.
Yeah, this is definitely something we can do again. We can revisit these topics with new comments and questions.
We're proud of you guys.
Love you guys.
Love y'all so much.
Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. We hope you enjoyed our conversation and can't wait to share another episode with you next Thursday.
Make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. To keep up with the latest, make sure to follow us on Instagram at Podcast She Did What. We'll be sharing updates, behind the scenes, and announcements you won't want to miss.
And if there's anything you'd like to share with us, whether it be a personal story or feedback on our episodes, you can leave us a voicemail at 762-499-2201 or head over to our website, shedidwhatpodcast.com. Also, feel free to leave us a review down below. We'd love to know what you think.
She Did What is hosted by us, Brandy Chandler and Katie Jacobs, and produced by Studio D Podcast Production.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next Thursday. And remember, it isn't always easy, but it sure as hell can be entertaining.